All right, DeFi fans, buckle up because today we're going to dig into Fluid DEX.
Yeah, it's got people talking, that's for sure.
Big time, and for good reason. This isn't just another, flash in the pan DEX. This could be like a seismic shift for
Not
DeFi.
kidding. We're talking potentially reshaping the whole landscape of liquidity.
Exactly. And to really wrap our heads around this thing, we've been living and breathing this interview with DeFi made here.
Oh, he's the man, head honcho over at Instadap, right?
The one and only. And they're the brains behind Fluid.
Yeah, and he really went deep with DeFi Dad on his podcast. What's it called again?
The Edge.
Yeah.
You really unpacked it all. Super granular stuff.
I was glued to it, man. What really struck me was how, Fluid wants to be the bedrock, not just another app, the whole foundation.
Yeah, this whole liquidity layer thing.
All right, liquidity layer.
Sounds like something out of Star Trek, but
A little bit, huh?
it's actually pretty simple. Once you cut through the jargon.
Totally. It's like, imagine everything in DeFi just click, working together seamlessly. That's the dream, right?
It's the dream, and it could mean way bigger gains for all of us potentially. Way more efficient.
And for most people, that's the bottom line,
Yeah.
right? How do I make the most of what I've got?
Bang on. So let's break down Fluid. First off, why it's not just another DX.
Okay, so it all starts with this liquidity layer idea.
Right.
And from there, they build out all these tools. So picture this. You've got some LP tokens just sitting there.
LP tokens, that's liquidity provider tokens for anyone just tuning in.
Right on. So you've got these tokens and Fluid's like, hey, use those as collateral to borrow even more assets.
Genius. It's all about capital efficiency, like DeFi Made Here kept hammering home in the interview.
Your money shouldn't just sit there. It should be out there making you more money constantly.
Working smarter, not harder. But it gets even wilder, right? Fluid takes it up a notch with this smart collateral and smart debt.
Things are about to get really interesting.
Okay, whoa. Before we lose anyone in the weeds, let's take it one step at a time. Smart collateral. What are we talking about here?
All right, so imagine you've got, let's say, some ETH just chilling on Fluid.
Okay, I'm with you.
Now, with smart collateral, you can use that ETH to borrow against, just like you'd use a house to get a mortgage or something.
Okay, so far so good, but where's the smart come in?
I was waiting for that. It's about what you can do with that borrowed money.
Oh, I see.
Right. On other platforms, you might, borrow against your ETH, snag some stable coins, and then, I don't know, park them in a lending protocol, hope for the best.
Yeah, pretty standard DeFi playbook.
Exactly. But Fluid's like, nah, man, let's get creative. That borrowed money, it's got to work harder, thanks to how they've set up their liquidity pools.
Okay, color me intrigued. I think it's time we bring in this smart debt to complete the picture, right?
You're reading my mind. Smart debt is where things get really mind-blowing. It lets you use your debt, the money you owe, as liquidity.
Wait, back up. I'm making money from owing money. How does that even work?
I know, it's like financial alchemy or something. It's all about leveraging the efficiency of these liquidity pools.
Okay.
Let's break it down.
Yeah, let's break it down. Give me an example.
All right. So you deposit some ETH, right? You use that as collateral to borrow some USDC.
Okay, following along. So now I've got USDC, but I'm paying interest on it.
Right. But here's the thing. With smart debt, instead of that USDC debt just sitting there, you can tell Fluid, hey, I'm cool with some of that debt being in Tether, USDT too.
Okay, so some of my USDC debt, it's swapped for USDT debt. Why would I want to do that?
Because, check it. Let's say someone wants to trade their USDC for USDT on Fluid.
Okay.
They come in, swap their USDC, it pays down a bit of your USDC debt, and boom, they get the USDT from the pool.
So I'm kind of like the other side of that trade, but it's all automated and stuff.
Way more efficient than old school peer-to-peer.
Right.
And get this, every time a trade like that happens, using your smart debt, you snag a piece of the trading fee.
Oh, way.
Yeah, it's like your debt is out there hustling for you, earning its keep.
So let me get this straight. With Fluid, I'm potentially earning fees from being a liquidity provider, plus fees from my smart debt, and my ETH could still go up in value.
Bingo. They call it the triple dip. And DeFi Made Here even ran some simulations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, talking potential returns upwards of 200% APR on stablecoin pairs.
Okay, now I got to ask, and I'm sure listeners are thinking the same thing. This sounds almost too good.
Right.
There's got to be a catch, some kind of risk, right?
Well, you're right. To be cautious, there's no free lunch in DeFi, that's for sure.
Right.
Fluid definitely reduces some risks, but it's not, risk-free.
Okay, so what are the downsides? What do people need to watch out for?
Well, one thing to keep in mind with any liquidity providing is impermanent loss. That's still a factor with Fluid.
Right, right, impermanent loss. For those who are new to this, can you give us a quick rundown of how that works, how it applies here?
Of course, of course. So imagine you've got your ETH and USDC sitting in a liquidity pool, right?
Yep.
Impermanent loss, it happens when the price of one of those assets, let's say ETH, goes way up or way down compared to the other one, USDC.
Okay.
So when you go to withdraw your liquidity, you might end up with less of that more valuable asset.
So even if I'm earning fees, if ETH goes through the roof while it's locked up, I might miss out on some of those gains.
Yeah, essentially. It's called impermanent because you only really lock in the loss if you withdraw when things are down.
Right.
If the price goes back to normal, you're good.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Any other risks specific to smart collateral or smart debt that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, and it ties into that impermanent loss thing. Remember our example, ETH collateral borrowed USDC, then some of that debt flipped to USDT.
Yeah, yeah.
Imagine USDT crashes, like really tanks against USDC.
Oh.
Because some of your debt is in USDT, and USDT is worth less, your total debt just went up.
So I'm exposed to the price moves of both those assets in my smart debt pair.
Exactly. It's like juggling. You got to keep an eye on both of them, how they move against each other.
Not as passive as it sounded at first, huh?
Well, it still can be, but you got to stay informed.
Right.
And that's where Fluid being transparent is so important.
Oh, absolutely.
And DeFi Made here really stressed that giving users the info they need to make smart choices. That includes understanding the risks.
Music to my ears. Still, even with these risks, I gotta say, the potential here is really exciting.
I'm right there with you. It's shaking things up.
It's like they're building the financial system of the future, one block at a time.
Love that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right.
We've talked about the good and the bad, but what about the practical stuff? When can people actually get their hands on this thing?
Yeah, everyone's on the edge of their seats, I'm sure.
Well, good news is the wait's almost over. From what I gathered, they were aiming for like the first week of August for launch.
So by the time some folks are hearing this, Fluid DX could be live.
Wild, right.
Definitely got to stay glued to their channels. Things move at warp speed in DeFi.
No kidding. Speaking of moving fast,
Hmm.
let's talk security for a sec. Always top of mind, right?
Essential stuff. Easy to get caught up in the hype and forget about the nuts and bolts of keeping your money safe.
For sure. But it seems like the Fluid crew's been on top of it from day one.
Okay.
DeFi Made here talked about the audits they've done, multiple ones from, the big names.
Yeah, that's table stakes at this point. Gotta have it.
Absolutely. But they didn't stop there. Bug bounties, too.
Nice.
Get those white hat hackers on it, find the vulnerabilities before, the bad guys do.
Smart, smart. And what about those withdrawal limits? DeFi Made here called them like automated ceilings or something.
Oh, yeah. Those are slick.
Yeah.
Basically, they limit how much can be pulled out in a certain time.
So like a circuit breaker.
Exactly. If something sketchy is going down, boom, it trips, limits the damage.
Yeah, that'll make a lot of people sleep better at night, especially after, some of the DeFi fires we've seen.
No doubt. But there's one more layer we got to talk about. The INST token.
Right, right. Fluid's not just run by some, faceless entity, right?
Nope. Community governed, all through INST.
Mm.
Holders get voting rights, real say in how things run.
And that includes that emergency freeze option, right?
You got it. So no single person can just hit the brakes on everything.
Okay.
Needs a majority vote from a bunch of trusted folks, kind of like a safety net controlled by the users.
So worst case scenario, there's a way to hit pause and regroup.
Exactly. Keeps everyone honest, makes sure the protocol's working for the people it's supposed to serve.
I love it. Innovation and security, hand in hand. But let's zoom out for a second.
Yeah.
We've been deep in the weeds on Fluid DX, but, like we touched on earlier, it's just the tip of the iceberg with this liquidity layer.
Don't get me started, man. It's like they're building a whole new DeFi universe.
No kidding. DeFi Made here was hinting at stable coins, prediction markets, all sorts of crazy financial stuff, all running on the same tech.
It's mind-blowing. Imagine your assets just flowing between all these different apps, always finding the best deals.
It's like the financial system is evolving, learning, optimizing itself.
Right. It's almost too much to take in, but in a good way.
Absolutely. So as we come in for a landing on this deep dive, what are your final thoughts on Fluid? Can it really shake things up?
Well, it's still early. Always got to be careful.
Sure.
But they've got a lot going for them. The team's solid, they're transparent, and they're thinking bigger than most.
Not just another DX, it's a whole philosophy.
Exactly. Could be a game changer, but only time will tell, right?
True, true. I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty optimistic, though.
Me too, me too. And that's what makes DeFi so damn exciting, always pushing boundaries, and Fluid's a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. It's a wild ride, and we're just getting started. Folks, gotta stay curious, do your own digging.
Your own research, absolutely.
Who knows, maybe you'll uncover the next fluid out there.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, everyone, that's all the time we've got. Until next time, happy diving.